India get the job done as we would have expected from this side. They now claim top spot in this group in the ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2022. Eventually the margin of victory 56 runs. Netherlands never really got going. All the Indian bowlers had a nice little drill almost, and they picked up 9 Netherlands wickets as a result. So they will now move to Perth, where there's a mouth-watering clash between the two teams that won today at the SCG, India and South Africa. And the Dutch carry on and hope to perhaps have a better day against one of the other teams going forward. We look back at that game on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket Info T20 Timeout. And a little while from now, we'll also build up to Zimbabwe against Pakistan. Interesting little clash there at Perth. You expect Pakistan to be strong favourites, but you never know what you get from that surface at the new Perth Stadium. Anil Kumble with me. I guess if you're India, that's just a very clinical, very efficient performance. You take that, Anil?
Oh yes, it was a very professional performance. Everyone got a hit. In terms of getting runs, yes, Rahul missed out today, but the bowlers did really well. Everyone picked up wickets. It was important that the 2 spinners came into the game, and both Ashwin and Akshar bowled well, picked up 2 wickets each. Arshdeep again was very impressive. He got 3 wickets. Bhuvneshwar Kumar was brilliant with the new ball, picking up 2 wickets. Shami picking up a wicket. I think everyone's had a good workout.
India would like to try and get their best game at all these different venues. There's a semi-final at the Sydney Cricket Ground as well, so it'd be nice for them to just have good memories of this, and they've done that against the Dutch. We can't really be too critical of the Netherlands. There's a huge gulf between the two teams, Anil, but with what Ireland have done yesterday, we're seeing associate teams test the full teams more. Did you expect anything more at all from the Dutch without being too critical?
No, I think it was. You can't be. It's going to be harsh if you're going to sort of be critical of the Netherlands. I thought they bowled well. They bowled really well, and batting has always been a bit of an issue for them. If the top batters don't get runs, then they struggle. So yeah, you can't be really too critical. Hopefully they'll get to play a lot more going forward, and that will only help them compete and be really competitive at this format, especially when the World Cup comes. Like I said before, it can't just be a World Cup to World Cup encounters for these teams. So it's important that they get opportunities and try and be a part of certain bilateral series for them to improve their cricket.
We spoke a lot about KL Rahul in our innings break show. With every low score, I guess it would add to the pressure in a World Cup. Now there's South Africa next up, who've shown that they've got some serious firepower. It's at Perth. Would you at all be concerned about KL Rahul, Anil?
No, I think Perth will probably suit his style of batting because the ball certainly comes on and there's enough bounce. We've seen that. So hopefully, that will be the start of his batting innings coming through for India. It's important that the top order, everyone fires. It's good to see Rohit come back into form. Virat has been brilliant in this tournament so far, and Surya did another Surya innings today. So Hardik is in form. He's got some runs against Pakistan. DK hasn't had any opportunity. So it's only KL at the top, and if he comes good and then DK does what he does towards the latter half of the innings, then I think Indian batting is sorted.
The bowling also just chipped in. Everyone chipped in. Couple of wickets each to the spinners, couple of wickets each to the new ball bowler Shami with 1 as well, which accounted for 9 Netherlands wickets. Just that end of the game, I know you can get a bit flat and the game's already won. But Arshdeep Singh always bowls this 1/4 over which goes for a few boundaries. Sometimes just as a coach of a young upcoming cricketer, you said so many nice things about him already on our show. Would you like for him to just tighten up perhaps that last phase of his bowling?
No, he works really hard on that. I know that he prepares and he sort of has this routine in the nets, especially for those last overs where he puts those cones and then practices bowling Yorkers both from over the stumps and around the stumps. I think what I'd like to see him do more is, as soon as you sort of see him in the death, he comes around the stumps. Maybe he could still remain over the stumps and try those. But otherwise, I think he's still young and he's only learning. I'm sure all these experiences of bowling so many overs for India will only help him. It's not for lack of effort or lack of preparation. He does that really well.
I'm curious though, regardless of this game, what goes through his mind when he decides he wants to come round the wicket? Sometimes I'm wondering too, he's bowling so well over. Is this like a fixed plan that's what he fancies doing at the death?
I think he thinks that he can angle it, and that angle probably is a variation for the right-hander, not too comfortable for right-handers when a left-armer comes around the stumps. It's like an off-spinner straight away going around the stumps when he sees a left-hander. So, or a Mohammad Shami, as soon as he sees a left-hander, he goes around the stumps. So it's a matter of comfort, and I guess it's the way they sort of approach that kind of approach to their back end of bowling. So it's very difficult to say.
All right, so India have done the job. Well done to them. Before I move on to Pakistan, Zimbabwe, I must ask Anil Kumble to pick his player of the match. Virat Kohli got a half century. Rohit Sharma got it. Would you give it to Surya?
I would certainly give it to Surya, because he was the one who sort of changed the game and the approach. His 200 strike rate and 50 again was brilliant.
All right, so there you go. Surya Kumar Yadav's half century, significant when the Dutch did well to try to keep the likes of Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma relatively quiet. They were going at a strike rate of about a run a ball for a large part of those first 10 overs, but that power-packed Surya innings took India to 179. Now, Pakistan and Zimbabwe are the remaining two teams in this group that have watched South Africa brush aside Bangladesh, that have now seen India brush aside the Netherlands at the Sydney Cricket Ground. We move our attention to the Perth Stadium. That's given us plenty to discuss already. Afghanistan had a real rough fixture on what was their first T20 international on Australian soil against England on the 22nd. And after that, we saw an Australia-Sri Lanka game that you might look at that scorecard and think Australia won easy, but Sri Lanka certainly had their moments. So Pakistan have had a few days to perhaps just mend their hearts after what surely would have been a heartbreaking defeat to India. They played so well for such a large part of that game. Uruj Mumtaz joins us. So it's a very good evening to Uruj, just across from where we are in Mumbai. And I must ask her now if she's feeling up and ready for this one. Pakistan, overwhelming favourites, you think, Uruj?
Yeah, absolutely. I think not just me. I think everybody will be raring to go, especially the 11 who play today, considering the close finish, the thriller a few days ago, and obviously to end on the defeat side of it, never an easy or never a nice feeling. So, like you say, they should be favourites. They probably have a very strong lineup, both with bat and ball. And they just have to deliver, keep it simple and deliver tonight.
This should be fun, right, Uruj? I mean, it was fun watching Naseem Shah and Haris Rauf. We didn't quite see the best of Shaheen Afridi, but if you're a fast bowler right now, and Pakistan have so many good ones, you can't wait to, you probably are first in the bus as soon as you get off at Perth Stadium.
Absolutely. I think we've spoken about this, the pace, which is obviously all 145 plus. Haris managed to clock it over 150 as well. So, and put Perth into that mix. I think they're raring to go, and I really would like to see four of them come out in this clash against Zimbabwe. So, yeah, I think they'll be upbeat. I think they'll chance their arm against the Zimbabwe top order, which has struggled. Shaheen, with regards to fitness, I didn't think that he looked 100% even when he was running in. So maybe it could just be sort of in the back of his mind, a big match against India, the first after a long injury. Yes, he did play a warm-up, but I think this match for him will probably set the tone of how he bowls in the upcoming important ones as well.
All right. Now we know that formal proceedings are just finishing off at the SCG, but this game being in Perth, the toss has already taken place. Zimbabwe rather have won it. They're going to be batting first. On that note, I welcome Andy Flower as well. And while Pakistan would be overwhelming favourites, as Uruj Mumtaz has just told us, Andy, fair to say, Zimbabwe just have half the points, or Zimbabwe have more points than Pakistan at this stage. But of course, that's without context.
What a great start for Zimbabwe. Points on the board. Yeah, really looking forward to watching them play today. You know, they've won the toss. They've done what they like doing, and they've had a lot of success doing, which is batting first, and hopefully without the complication of rain, it works out really well for them. It's going to be interesting to see how they deal with the Pakistani pace bowling. You know, they've got an outstanding pace attack, and I haven't seen the final 11, but it'll also be interesting to see if Pakistan have made any adjustments to their attack and brought in a little more pace.
Yes, I mean, we're just waiting for team news from both sides. I think Zimbabwe have made one change, which I'll come to in just a moment. But Pakistan bowling first. Let's get a comment from Uruj Mumtaz on that too. Uruj, they take this. Australia did manage the chase the other day. They were helped by some pretty ordinary bowling from Wanendu Hasaranga. That chase had its moments though. Pakistan wouldn't mind?
I don't think so. I think the toss has worked out well for both teams. Zimbabwe like to put runs on the board. Pakistan has a phenomenal record chasing, and it's the method that suits them really well. Considering how their top order plays, they start off and they like to consolidate and bat deeper into the innings. So they can always construct when they're chasing and knowing what they're chasing. So I think Pakistan will take this and they'll try and restrict Zimbabwe to a lowish total. Like Andy said, if rain doesn't play a spoil sport, Pakistan should be happy with this.
And we give Pakistan's batters some time as well, Anil. We saw the top order. Babar Azam's been slightly short of runs. They lost Rizwan too, and then suddenly the Pakistan batting lineup is exposed. Sometimes after that kind of game, with all the emotions it might have taken out of you, is it a good thing that you end up bowling first in the next one?
Yes, I think so. I think because the bowling unit is sort of set. They know their roles, and Babar Azam hasn't been in the best of forms leading up to the World Cup. So I think it's important that Pakistan take cognizance of the conditions, and then when they come out to bat, like Uruj mentioned, they like chasing and they like runs on the board for them to sort of have a target at, and Babar Azam and Rizwan have been brilliant whenever Pakistan have chased. So yeah, it's hopefully for Pakistan, Babar comes to the party.
Now there is a change. It's for both sides. Let's start with Pakistan. Uruj Mumtaz did predict on the eve of this game in our preview that she'd like to see Mohammad Wasim Jr. in, and he does make an appearance. It's his first World Cup appearance, and he comes in for Asif Ali. Interestingly enough, Asif Ali, with that big reputation of his, has made way while Haider Ali keeps his spot in what is now a four-man pace attack that you could see on the right of your screen. You of course have Mohammad Nawaz, you have Shadab Khan, both more than capable with the bat. Wasim can hold a bat too, and they have Iftikhar Ahmed if they want an extra bowling option. Highly unlikely at Perth, but they've got a lot of bases covered. I think you'll welcome the change, Uruj. You predicted it, but you did say it could likely be for Haider Ali, not Asif Ali. Thoughts?
Yeah, normally you'd expect them to go with seniority or experience in a way where Asif Ali likes pace considering it's Perth. But then let's not forget Zimbabwe does have quality spinners as well with Sean Williams and Sikandar Raza. They might use Ryan Burl if he's playing with his leg breaks. So I just feel Haider is also flexible. He can be sent up and down the order. So I think I'm happy with this because both really don't have great numbers in the past. It'll have to be seen where they actually end up batting with respect to the situation of the chase they are in. But that is a pretty strong side, and the Wasim Jr. I think is a pick of the bowlers who aren't playing. He gets the ball to nip off the wicket and normally brings it back slightly into the right-hander. So I think conditions will suit all four seamers for Pakistan at Perth.
On merit, Andy, I don't know if this is a horses for courses selection call at Perth, play the extra seamer, or whether this might just be Pakistan's best team with four fast bowling options, given that their all-rounder, all their spinners are handy all-rounders too. Were they going up perhaps one bat too many? Do you like this change, not just for today, but perhaps going forward?
I do like this change. I think they've done the right thing. A fourth seam option would have been really useful against India the other night. And they aren't losing that much on the batting front. It's an interesting decision between Haider Ali and Asif Ali, which one of those was going to miss out to get Mohammad Wasim Jr. in. And I'm surprised they've stuck with Haider Ali, actually. He hasn't done a lot for Pakistan for quite a long time, whereas Asif Ali had some success in the last T20 World Cup. But they like his talent, they like his striking ability, but he has to come to the party with runs at some stage, to justify his selection. But definitely the right thing to bring in a fourth seam option. They've now got all their bowling options covered, and that's a serious attack, and certainly the right thing on this surface.
What a luxury to be able to have four seamers and yet not necessarily compromise much on your batting. They would have loved a fourth seamer the other night, as Andy mentions, Anil. Yeah.
Yes, Pakistan certainly missed a trick in Melbourne, especially with the fourth seamer being there. It would have been sort of a bit more problematic for India. But having said that, I think they've done the right thing here in Perth, and it all depends how the team goes in Perth for them to sort of move ahead with a fourth seamer option. I guess that's the way Pakistan will look to approach from now on, saying, okay, four seamers will always be handy more than 4 seamers. I mean, it's your 6 bowlers. I think that will be more than handy in a T20 game.
Uruj, I wonder if you could spend a little more time on the Asif Ali situation and the Haider Ali situation. Would there be a big deal about this? The fact that they've dropped Asif, played Haider, like you point out, in our part of the world, seniority almost trumps everything else. But what's Haider Ali done here in his track record that tilts this selection call in favour of him, do you think, from the point of view of the team?
I mean, to be honest, if you compare to the two in the recent past, Asif Ali's probably outperformed Haider Ali. Haider Ali is a prime example of talent meeting opportunity, and he hasn't really quite availed them. He broke onto the scene at the PSL, really good, used to play in the V. When he went for his shots, he went straight and sort of mid-wicket, mid-on. What he's done in the recent part, he tries to hoik everything sort of above square leg, and it's a place where he's held out quite often, doesn't get it into good positions, tries to muscle the ball. So maybe it's just the fact that they're trying to give him an opportunity, backing him, like Andy said, that he's younger, they've backed him for about a couple of years now. But again, it'll be interesting to see where they do put him in when Pakistan does chase, whether he plays spin well. He struggled against the quicker bowlers. That's where my assessment lies with that. They're probably just trying to back the youngster, give him one more go against probably not the fastest pace attack that Zimbabwe have.
All right. Well, they've made a change to that pace attack, Zimbabwe themselves. There's one change that's been made to Craig Irvine side. Tendai Chatara misses out, and Brad Evans plays, I think, what's his first game of this World Cup. So they've gone with the all-round at that position. Chatara used to take the new ball, didn't always complete his full quota of 4 overs. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same team that snuck away or got away with the point against South Africa. We'll come to some of those players individually in a moment. A few of them have a pretty good record against Pakistan. We'll bring up those numbers. But Brad Evans plays his first game. Andy, if I remember correctly, I think you played with his father, without making you sound older than you are.
I did indeed. I played a lot of cricket with his father, who was a brilliant sports person, great rugby player. This is Craig Evans we're talking about, great rugby player, excellent batsman, bowled a little bit of medium pace. I played club cricket with him and played for Zimbabwe with Craig Evans. So there's good sporting pedigree in the Evans family. Brad, I think, had some recent and reasonable success against India. So he should be feeling fairly confident coming into this game. It's really good that Ingarava, the left arm swing bowler for Zimbabwe, is fit after twisting his ankle the other night in the wet conditions. So they need that balance of having a left arm quick in that bowling attack. So let's hope that when their time comes in the second half of the game, that pace attack is nicely balanced, and they can use the 2 spinners that Uruj mentioned earlier, Sean Williams and Sikandar Raza.
Yeah, I mean, when Andy Flower says good sporting pedigree in a family in Zimbabwe, it's just a thing about Zimbabwe, isn't it, Andy? Sporting pedigree just comes as a family pack.
I think in a lot of the Southern Hemisphere nations, the outdoors lifestyle allows for a very sporty existence in your early years, and you tend to, at school in those areas of the world, you tend to play all sorts of sports, so you get a really nice all-round sporting education, both physically and with regards to the sort of team aspects of sport. But in Zimbabwe's case, I think because it's such a small nation and a small sporting nation, you do probably find that it's not rare for families to be very prominent in various teams.
All right. Well, of course, you're hearing from a man who possesses so much talent, not just in himself, but in that family line. So lovely to hear Andy Flower speak on that. Now, focus and spotlight on this game will be on Shaheen Afridi with the new ball. Like we've observed, like Uruj Mumtaz points out, we didn't see the best of Shaheen. Perhaps just a bit rusty or just lacking a little match practice. Has had his share of injuries in the recent times. His last 5 T20Is, he's gone wicketless against India. Other than that, good returns, no doubt, but you could see the gap with which he's been playing. Played November, December 2021, then had to straight play in April, and from April then straight to October. Not easy, I'm sure, Anil, for a fast bowler to start hitting his straps at the World Cup.
Yeah, not easy, and especially if your first match happens to be against India. He is someone who likes the ball swinging back into the right-hander. I don't think there was swing in Melbourne in those conditions. We saw even Ireland bowlers swung the ball against England, but he didn't get that. Initially he tried. The first ball was a full toss to Rahul, but after that he didn't get that. So I think he was probably bowling within himself because it was the first game and it was India as well. A lot of pressure. This game, Perth, you can't ask for a better sort of a match and a pitch condition. So I'm sure he'll let the ball go. If he lets the ball go full steam, I think everything comes back. It's all about rhythm, and the more he plays, the better he'll get. So I'm sure he and as a bowler, if you get a wicket of the first over, then suddenly things come back. So perhaps that's what he needs for him to come back into the earlier rhythm that he always had.
Yeah, you did observe even when he came back later in that innings, we're not quite seeing Shine at full tilt here with the type of bowling, the way he ran in his run-up, fair to say?
Yeah, fair to say. But again, like I said, it's the first game. Maybe he's just holding on, bowling within himself. So yes, we'll probably see the best of Shine freely today.
Does Wasim Jr.'s inclusion perhaps just relieve the burden a bit of Shaheen, and how perhaps Babar Azam might use him today, Uruj?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure that he'll still bowl him up front, but where he sort of struggled at the back end, there's Wasim Jr. who's very good with the old ball as well. He could obviously fill in for the middle overs where Pakistan did have to bowl the spinners on the trot. I think they bowled about 6 on a trot until Nawaz got hit for that 20 odd in the sixth of that 6 over trot. So I just feel Wasim Jr. and then he also does have a little bit of batting in him as well. So I think he's an all-round package. What Pakistan does miss is a pace bowling all-rounder. And that's what I think Wasim Jr. can develop into. And I'd like to see this 11 continue on given the conditions in Australia.
Right, we'll see if Shine maybe gets the extra over with the new ball. He'd fancy it. Maybe he just bowls 4 and then puts his feet up inside. No, fast bowlers never do that, do they? No, we'll never go into that discussion with either Anil or Andy or Uruj. But we will talk Zimbabwe up here because this is not the Netherlands, with due respect to them. Zimbabwe have had their taste of success against Pakistan. It was courtesy of Zimbabwe side that Pakistan had the pleasure of hosting international cricket again. It was wonderful for Zimbabwe team to tour them after many years of playing their home games in the UAE. But in T20 as in 2022, how about that? Andy Flower, they've won 9 and lost 2 in the last 12 games. And of course we know which game misses out on that one, the one where anything could have happened had rain not intervened against South Africa. But they go into this one with an 82% win record. Stats don't lie, do they?
Crikey, I tell you what, it's strange for me as a Zimbabwean cricketer to be looking at those sort of stats. Brilliant. That does coincide with Dave Houghton's arrival as a leader in Zimbabwe. And I think we've got to give Dave quite a lot of credit for the calm stewardship that he's brought to the Zimbabwe team just recently. And it sounds like that he's been attempting to free the guys up a little to play aggressive cricket. And I'd really like to see some of that, but see the balance between playing aggressive and proactive cricket, but not being too frenetic. So they must have been doing quite a lot right and getting that balance pretty close to ideal for them to get those figures recently. So let's see if they can replicate some of that form here against Pakistan and put Pakistan under pressure. We do know that Pakistan can be inconsistent. I know not those 2 opening batsmen, of course, but when you put them under pressure, there can be inconsistencies, and Zimbabwe's job is to open up some of those cracks if possible.
That's a polite way of putting it, right? Uruj probably had a smile on her face when Andy just used inconsistent. We've used all sorts of terms to describe Pakistan being mercurial, right? They'll beat the best team in the world on their night, and all of a sudden they'll have their fans with their hearts in their mouths when one of these sorts of games come up. But are we sensing a Pakistan side that's different this time, Uruj? Are we expecting them to be clinical against Zimbabwe, or is there an element of, shall I say, nervousness? Given how this group could play out if Pakistan slip up at all?
I guess you all are right. I mean, there's no way we can sugarcoat that. 1 minute up, 1 minute down. There's plenty of phrases that have been said. That one said by Nasir Hussain. Shadab Khan himself agrees to the fact, and he said that we're capable of giving Pakistani fans heart attacks. So I guess that's just the way they play. But I just feel that with the bowling lineup that they have, they start well with the bat and with the ball both, and I think that's something that they use to their advantage. The one thing that Pakistan does lack is sort of a ruthless approach to the game. We see them stranglehold the opposition. They had India down 32 for 4 the other day, but they finished to close out sections of the game, whether it's immediately after the power play. They just allow a little bit of breather space. And I think that's where Pakistan sort of needs to consolidate and sort of close innings out, whether that's with the bat and with the ball. So that's something that they can look at. But the side looks very promising, and the way they've shaped up leading into the World Cup is really good. Especially the win against the win in the Tri Nation against Bangladesh and New Zealand would have given them a lot of confidence coming in.
I think that's an excellent point Anuj brings up, just that killer instinct, because they had that game, Anil, no doubt. Now, is that down to a captain, perhaps, you think? Is that down to just a general culture in the team, or maybe it's selection? If you give him 4 fast bowlers, maybe we'll see more dynamism than what he had to play with at MCG.
I think we did speak about this, right? After the India-Pakistan game, it's also about what the bowler is thinking. Sometimes in that kind of a situation, can a bowler and the captain come together and then put added pressure by bringing one fielder in and then allowing the batter, someone like a Hardik Pandya at that stage, to say, okay, hit me for a 6 over the top. India is 40 for 4. Now you do it. So those kind of things, I think, like Uruj mentioned, Pakistan need to be proactive. It sometimes tells on the captain's form as well, as to what is happening, because if Babar Azam is in form, is scoring runs every innings, then these things can come naturally. So I guess it's a bit of both that you mentioned, but I'm sure with 4 fast bowlers, they are well oiled to sort of say, okay, who can come and bowl? You need that option, especially in conditions like these.
For a long time, we only spoke of Babar Azam as if he's almost in this invincible purple patch of sorts. I think round about the Asia Cup is when that slump began. He still got runs in the odd game against England, but it's not the consistency that we've seen from Babar Azam for a long period of time across formats in international cricket. In 2022, the last 12 matches, we are seeing the average of nearly 50. The first 8, I think that could very well be the other way around. No, but I think the point remains that Babar Azam is someone that you have to keep a close eye on. Pakistan relies so heavily on him at the top of the order. Now, Babar's numbers most times will be very good numbers to look at, unless Blessing Musarabani brings them up. I wonder if Uruj can give us some insight into this here, because I know Musarabani's enjoyed bowling in Pakistan. He once bowled an outstanding super over in a tight game, thrilling game there. And here we have him dismissing Babar 5 times across formats. I don't know. I don't like these across formats numbers all the time, Uruj. But maybe they play on the batter's minds. Has Babar got one of his bunny bowlers bowling to him today?
I'm sure they do. See, I mean, there's so much of data that goes in, so much of numbers, matchups that they talk about. So even if you try and sort of fizzle it out or not let it affect you, it eventually does. I think Blessing will have his tail up for sure. He's got the surface, he's got the ground to do it in. He's got the pace as well. And Babar, as good as he is, he's obviously the best in the world across all formats, very, very technically sound and can up the ante whenever he wants. But didn't have the best of games, of course, against India, and that is somewhere weighing on him. But again, I think he's got the technique behind him, and he can probably take a little bit of time to get in to see what the ball is doing, and then consolidate in from there. But it's a funny game, and you never know with these things.
Andy, it's funny, right? You might go through your entire career getting the better of the best of bowlers in the world. You've seen that with the wonderful career you had. You played one of the best bowlers of your time, sitting in studio with me with LTVs. Every now and then there comes the occasional bowler you may not think troubles you, and suddenly he's the one you just do not want to face. Can you think of a bowler like that?
Well, Wasim Akram was a really tough one for me to face. I always found it really difficult.
Right. I think that's okay for a lot of people.
I found it.
I know Rohit Sharma says Sandeep Sharma is someone I hate playing in the IPL. Yeah, with due respect to Musarabani, you don't think he's the bowler who's right up there to trouble Babar Azam, but he's got a good record against him. Yes, Andy,
no,
please.
But I'll tell you a little story about Musarabani. In that two years ago, when I was coaching Multan Sultans, and our captain was Mohammad Rizwan. And we had an injury to a fast bowler, so we were looking at the options of who to bring in. And Rizwan was very forceful because we had a big game coming up against Karachi, which is Babar Azam's side. And we were sort of mid-tournament, and Rizwan was really forceful about getting Muzarabani. And he said, we've got this big game. Babar Azam does not like facing Muzarabani. The bounce is really effective. Let's get Muzarabani in. We did. And I don't think he got Babar Azam out, but he was actually really pivotal in us doing brilliantly in the second half of that tournament in the UAE. So there's definitely some history there that will play on Babar's mind. And that bounce that Muzarabani gets, if he really hits his straps, that could cause a few problems for them.
All right, keep an eye out for this matchup. It's going to come our way in the second half, of course, with Zimbabwe having won the toss and choosing to bat first. But blessing Muzarabani against Babar Azam is one to look out for in the second half of the innings. Now, Wesley Madhavere is another player from Zimbabwe you can bring up and say he enjoys playing Pakistan. It's worth putting into perspective, perhaps, the attacks that he's played. But in 6 innings, he's averaging just over 38 with a strike rate of 125. Those are numbers you'd accept from one of your top order batters, and against an opposition after Bangladesh, those are his best numbers. It's a shame Zimbabwe don't get to play as much international cricket with some of the other sides as they used to, but those are you can only get runs against who's in front of you, and Wesley Madhavere certainly is somebody who doesn't mind playing Pakistan's bowling attack. On the other hand, the focus will also be on Sikandar Raza, the rise of Sikandar Raza. This is I'm sure a fixture close to his heart for a player that was born in Pakistan, in Sialkot, who has played international cricket for Zimbabwe for a while now. It's a wonderful personal story too of a player who was diagnosed with illness about a year or so back. He's come back, made his way back into international cricket, and also remodeled his action. I'll come to that in a second with Anil Kumble, but an average of 38.4, 652 runs in 2022. We're seeing the very best of Sikandar Raza, Andy, and an important role that he plays. He used to be a top order batter in ODI cricket. In T20, does the tough job of batting in the middle.
Yeah, he's had a wonderful 12 months, and it just seems as though his natural batting tempo was probably more suited to 50 over cricket, but something seems to have clicked for him just recently, and sometimes it does work out that way as a batsman. The sort of white ball formula that you work out in your head, once you get it very clear. And once you've got a formula that works, you sort of repeat that thinking, and that forms the template with which you build your white ball innings. And it looks like Sikandar's got that template at the moment. He must be feeling super confident, which is always a wonderful way to go into contests feeling that way. And he's going to be important for Zimbabwe over the coming matches. He will be very fired up to do well against Pakistan, given his history with Pakistan. So really looking for great things from him. And you mentioned Wesley Madhavere. His first international success was against Pakistan. So his organised little technique and his ability to use the pace should be, it gives him a really good chance against this opposition in these conditions.
Yeah, fair points from Andy Flower. And Sikandar Raza is not just a more than handy bat or one of the main batters in this side. He's become a genuine bowler now, bowls was 4 overs more often than not. You've seen his new action, Anil. He seems to spend some time in the CPL with Sunil Narayan. It said after he had trouble with illness and a bone marrow issue, he had to change his action. But imagine changing your action to Sunil Narayan's action with some reasonable consistency.
Yeah, he's done really well. He sort of has four or five different types of deliveries, and very similar to how Sunil bowls. His action is modelled around him. He's had a long chat. I mean, he says he's had a chat with Sunil and picked up a few nuances of spin bowling. I think it's very, very good for someone, at 37 to sort of reimagine and rework his game, not just his batting, like Andy mentioned, but also his bowling. I mean, he's been very handy for Zimbabwe, and the success that you spoke about, that 82%, he's played a major role in that 82% success that Zimbabwe had in the recent past.
There's a familiarity factor here, I guess, Suruj. Some of the Zimbabwe players have played enough against and with the Pakistan side. Quite a few of them play in the PSL too. Is that coming into play at all today? The fact that Zimbabwe don't mind playing Pakistan more than perhaps some of the other teams?
I mean, they had a good run when they came to Pakistan last year. Again, and even in Harare, they did beat Pakistan in the one T20. But they've done good in bits and pieces. And I think Sikandar Raza will need support with bat and ball. With bat, probably more from sort of likes of Sean Williams and the top order. Wesley, a very good player. I think he's technically very solid. So I think they all need to click together. Some of them do enjoy playing against Pakistan. And I just feel something what Ireland did against England the other day, I think it was just yesterday, where they used the pace. That's something that the top order of Zimbabwe can look at, using the pace that's coming to them and sort of play square or behind square earlier on till the ball sort of stops doing things. So I think they'll have to chip in the top order to give Sikandar Raza that platform and that support to do things that he does do really well.
I should have come to you after Andy gave us that wonderful story of Rizwan wanting Muzarabani because he knows Babar doesn't like him. They spend so much time at the top together, but that friendship seems to be lost when the PSL comes around. Is that how it works?
Well, I think that's the beauty of franchise cricket, right? I mean, they play as friends and foes at various parts and various tournaments, but I think no love lost, really. I think they'll come together when they're in that bubble and then at the moment not. So, but I think these stories or sort of these tournaments help in the way because you pick up flaws and sort of strong points of your opposition. So that information flowing around, Rizwan might not be giving Blessing any more tips at the moment, but I think Babar will be a bit wary of that ball that comes back into his pad. So it'll be a good one to watch.
I don't rule out Babar just trying to get one of Muzarabani and say, now you take him, you will love him so much, right? And if he does get him, Muzarabani gets Babar today, I'd love to have that conversation with Andy and Urut, so we'll pick up that chat later in the day. It's time for a first inning score prediction. Anil, Sri Lanka got 157, I think it was the other day. Australia gunned it down, but they had their moments. What does Zimbabwe need to make a fight out of it for Pakistan?
I think around that score. I mean, you need to be around 160, 170. It's a good surface in Perth, good pace and carry. So yes, against a very good batting lineup with Pakistan, where they love chasing, I think it's important that Zimbabwe get to that 170, 165, 170 score.
You think they'll get there though?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard against such a wonderful attack, but you never know. You can't discount that.
All right, let me get a first inning score prediction from Andy Flower. Andy.
Not sure about a prediction, but I reckon if they get 160, then they're in the game. It's a big outfield in Perth at this venue, and if they get 160 and then break up that opening partnership, which has been so important for Pakistan over the last few years, then they're going to be right in the game.
All right, Uruj.
Yeah, I completely echo what the two gentlemen have said. 160 has to be, but whether they get there or not, will time will tell. But I think 160 plus will give the Zimbabwean bowlers something to defend or stop Pakistan from winning this one.
All right, let's hope for a good game. We've been deprived of a close game today on this triple header day. South Africa made light work of Bangladesh. India did so as well of Netherlands. Let's hope for a close one. Uruj would be saying, why? Just take the pattern of the day and let Pakistan get the job done. But all right, I'm just speaking purely from a neutral point of view.
Yeah. No, pattern of the day is not a good result for Uruj.
Why is that?
Batting first. Team batting first.
Yeah. All right. Anil, this is where Uruj will be delighted to know that we're saying goodbye to Anil Kumble. He's had a long day, so he's not going to be with us for the rest of the evening. But Anil will be back with us for the semi-final. So Anil, I hope you've enjoyed your first stint.
Oh yes,
you're looking forward to your second.
Oh yes, it was wonderful to spend time with you and the rest of the panel. But yeah, really looking forward to coming back to the semi-finals. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who those 4 teams would be.
You can go check some of our previous videos to see who Anil's predicted and who he's still sticking with. But nice of Anil to always get get his time and his thoughts. Anil, thank you so much. Andy and Anuj, we will pick up a conversation with you at the end of the Zimbabwe innings. So do join us then on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket 40 T20 Timeout.